What's going on, my friends, my entrepreneurial friends and partners? Leo Cannell here with today's Seven Figures Club podcast. Ooh, I'm sounding like a radio jockey today, right? So in today's podcast, we're going to talk about why the greatness is in the grind, how my crazy schedule is actually grinding me to insanity, and my own personal journey to seven figures. Let's go! There are over 32 million businesses in the U.S., and over 90% of them will never break seven figures in annual sales. So how do we as entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs break into that seven figures club? This podcast will relentlessly share the secrets, strategies, and tactics I've used to create 3 multi-seven figures businesses and bring in even more successful entrepreneurs than me to share their inspirational stories and tactics to success. You can create your dream business and life right now. So buckle up and let's go. So it's been a crazy few weeks. Honestly, I'm just, I must have this obsessive psychosis focus or something like that, because for the last several months, honestly, I want to say, I would probably say going back about a year, going back to October of 2019 to October of 2020, which is, what the date is right now. And it's interesting, about a year ago, I got this crazy idea. Hey, we're gonna take it to LifeLock and all of these credit monitoring sites and identity protection sites, and we're going to team up with Experian and build this amazing $100 million company. And so that was my idea, and so okay, we started out. I had to put $10,000, invest that with Experian, and another $10,000 in paying our web developer and one of our designers to put together a great website. So we started identityinsured.com and softpullcredit.com, and as we were building that out, I started getting kind of crazy. I started working Saturday, I started working Sunday, which is against my religion, and honestly, I've been working about 7 days a week pretty consistently for the last year. Is that something that is sustainable? Is it, really having a negative effect on my family? I'm sure it's not having the best effect, but I still am home for dinner. I still spend, 2-3 hours, at least a couple hours every day with my kids. I still take time. I'll still take a day off to go wakeboarding, and this summer we did put in 75 hours on our boat, which is quite a lot of time, because that's actual time that the engine's running. Doesn't count the time when you turn the boat off and you're just hanging out there on the lake. Still take time to take our kids to go snowboarding. We still take time and go out to eat all the time. We're going to Cancun, to Playa del Carmen for the second time, where we're taking all of the kids. And my wife and I were actually there earlier in 2020 before the craziness of COVID-19. So, how am I doing as a father? I try to talk to my kids about that all the time, try to meet with them each individually every Sunday. So I'll do that later today and see how they're doing and make sure they're on target. So in my mind, and as I talk to them, they tell me I'm a good dad. They tell me I'm doing a good job, but I'm sure I could be doing better if I was able to get a little bit more time. But at the same time, I feel, pulled in this completely opposite direction of I've got to create this amazing, company that has a massive impact, and it has, and I've been fortunate to provide $500 million in funding to clients across the country and thousands of business owners and entrepreneurs, and be able to write a book about it and do events with Gary Vaynerchuk and Grant Cardone and Russell Brunson and guys that I really look up to, successful entrepreneurs, much more successful than me. But as I look back over the last year, and the last month has been really crazy, because we're launching our new funding partner program, and there's a few levels. You got a free partner version, you got our funding partner version, and then we got our executive partner version. And I'm super excited about the potential of this program to really reach a lot more entrepreneurs and give people, driven individuals, a chance to create their own dream business on their own terms and not have to reinvent the wheel, but to build their business under the umbrella of Seven Figures Funding. So really excited, but it takes so much damn time, and we still have to manage our funding pipeline and our business and take care of all of our partners and the deals, the actual work of getting entrepreneurs money during the week. And so that, I go home, eat dinner, spend some time, and then it's from another, 8 or 9 o'clock to 11 or midnight every, Monday through Thursday. Friday, I do check out about 6 o'clock, 5:30 on Friday, and spend time with my wife and watch a movie or something. But then Saturday morning comes up, and I'll probably get a later start. Yesterday I was into the office by 11 and left at 5. Today it's Sunday, and I'm grinding it out on Sunday because I've got to finish the training portal, and I know I won't have time. And we've got a big, massive virtual event where hundreds of people will be applying for funding this week, so I've got to be on top of that, make sure our team's on top of all those deals. And yet this training portal has to get done so we can get this launched. And actually, we're officially launching this podcast tomorrow on October 5th, so I'm incredibly excited about that. But as I am rambling on here, what I wanted to get to is why the greatness is in the grind. And as I give you kind of a little bit of a snapshot of what my life has been for the last year, and it's funny, my wife's like, honey, it seems like you're always launching something new every month, or you're launching a new business every 2 years. And even though I've been in the funding industry for the last decade, she's right. I mean, I've had partners who, would work hard for 6 months and then legitimately just stop working, and I'd run the business by myself, and that only lasts so long. I'm like, I'm out. I'll go start and run my own business. And then I'll take on more partners, and the same thing. Except the last time I did that, my partners worked well for about, let's call it a year. They worked well for about a year after I gave them equity ownership, and then really, they're playing Xbox at the office and being a horrible example to our employees. And so left on that one. And with our current funding company, I love the team that we've got here. Everybody is incredibly motivated. They hold themselves accountable. They don't lie to themselves. I really love our team that we've got here and everything that we've got going on. And so the point of this podcast, this one that we're on right now, is the greatness is in the grind. And everybody I know who achieves greatness, even let's take a look at Tim Ferriss. And he's an author of a lot of awesome books, The 4-Hour Work Week, which is a really cute idea. And as I look at the reality, when he launched that book and everything he was doing, I mean, the dude was putting in 80-hour work week. So, I mean, that's a cute idea. And the 4-Hour Work Week is a cute idea. And what it gets down to is the automation and delegation of the tasks that it takes to build a successful business. And that's something I've struggled with. And I'm really focusing and bringing on a new partner here with Seven Figures Funding. This guy is just amazing, and he's helping to automate everything, and we're starting to delegate a lot more tasks so I don't have to keep working 80 to 100 hours a week. But there's a good time period where that's just what it takes. One of my mentors, Patrick Bet-David, talks about it. I mean, he talks about it. If you're a part-time entrepreneur, you work 40 hours a week. If you're a full-time entrepreneur, it's 60 to 80, and if you're 80 plus, you're an all-the-time entrepreneur, and that's kind of what it takes for a time to be successful. But if you don't learn to delegate and duplicate yourself, and have great leaders to manage your business, and that's one thing. If you listen to a podcast I did with Sean Collins, he's got 100 locations of his Costa Vida franchise. He's expanding rapidly, building a massive business empire, but he's got great leaders, and so he doesn't have to work 100-hour weeks because he has leaders and he holds people accountable. And I've been reading this book called The Titan, which is the biography of John D. Rockefeller, who's a fascinating entrepreneur. Came from nothing. His father was always gone. And at a very young age, he started getting into accounting and managing books. We're talking age 17, 18, and within his 20s, he's building, this wholesale grocery distribution network, and builds that up, and then gets into the oil business, and builds the biggest oil empire that the world had ever seen, and was probably the most wealthy individual in the history of the world. I think I want to say 500 billion would be his net worth, according to, at the height of his net worth, based on inflation numbers and what money's worth today. So a phenomenal guy. And the interesting thing was this guy lived to the age of 98. A very unique. Very few people were born in the 1839 and lived to 1937. So he lives 98 years. And the percentage of people that lived that long back then, very low. But so he really semi-retires in his mid-50s, and still is able to build all these amazing, segments of Standard Oil, and just an amazing guy who builds all these businesses. But you know what he does? He doesn't spend that much time doing it. His whole focus is on finding the right leader, putting his money and capital with them, holding that person accountable, and making sure the results come in. And that's how he really was able to really expand his empire at that point, and doing it into his 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s without having to work a ton. So I'm excited to get to that point in my career. But right now, the things that I need done, I have to do them, and I have to grind those out. And so my crazy schedule is grinding me into insanity, but I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I know one more week here, I'm going to be able to get all of our training portal in a really good spot, and then focus on, the right content, making sure our marketing is converting and growing this business, and reaching all these people who want to be part of a recession-proof business as funding partners. So I'm incredibly excited about that. I see that, and I'm going to now be able to, with the great people at our organization, focus on building them into leaders and delegate more of this. And a lot of it comes into leverage, right? If you can use technology, and for example, sales funnels that Russell Brunson teaches, with his ClickFunnels software, then you can bring in a lot of people and do it profitably. And with your training and all the online tools, you don't have to be talking to each one, and you can start, bringing hundreds of people into your organization and start growing at a much higher level, because you're leveraging technology, or you're leveraging your sales force, and that's what we're going to be doing. So I see the light at the end of the tunnel. And the interesting thing about this podcast is it's the Seven Figures Club. And the first part of the Seven Figures Club is getting into the Six Figures Club, right? Can you make $100,000 in a year? If you can do that, that puts you in the top 20% of the population. When you're making $100,000 a year, it really, allows you to have a much better life, provide a better life for your family. And then when you can build your business up to seven figures in a year, like that's a big point, right? And I've been fortunate to build a few businesses to, make multiple seven figures in revenues and income. In just the last 5 years, businesses I founded have done over $15 million. Now that said, even though these businesses have made a lot of money, as a business owner, that doesn't mean you're keeping it all, right? As an entrepreneur, you have expenses, you have payroll, you have office, unfortunately, a lot of us are all still stuck with office expense, and I still, at the end of the day, believe we get a lot more done in the office. A lot of our staff was working from home. Now everybody is mostly in the office again, and we are getting more done. There's just no question about it. People are more productive when they're more focused on one thing, and when you're at home, it's difficult to be focused on, one thing. There's a lot of different things pulling you when you're at home, and so at the end of the day, there's no question people are more productive overall in the office in the long run, and I'll be damned if anyone tells you different. Certain people can do it, but the overall population, we're more effective, working in our office setting and focused and working together. That you feel this synergy, this energy in the office when everybody's grinding and getting stuff done. And so I love that, and there's just no doubt about it. So again, just to kind of put in a summary everything that we've talked about, the greatness is in the grind. I look at guys like Grant Cardone and Russell Brunson and Vaynerchuk and my top mentor, Patrick Bet David. I mean, these are guys that are constantly grinding. They're constantly taking massive action, and they make every second count. And the other interesting thing is all of them are still family guys, and they love their family and their kids, and they schedule that time. That's what I try to do. I'm scheduling time every day, to have quality time. And it really is in the quality. If you've got all sorts of time and you're just spending all day with your kids, that's actually, in my opinion, maybe not setting the right example. And Patrick David talks about this. He talks about, I watched my dad, and he grinded, and his dad was a wonderful man, is a wonderful man, and taught him amazing things. But he also taught him he was grinding, he was working, he was creating things, and that's what he wants his kids to see. And I enjoy that my kids get to see, hey, they know their dad is busting his ass and grinding and trying to create something special that makes a big impact on people and so forth. And so at the end of the day, all of this does come back to the journey of, okay, you build a 7-figures business, multiple 7-figures business, but can you actually earn 7 figures in personal net income as the business owner? And I'll be honest, I have not done that yet. And that's kind of the purpose of this podcast for me, is to learn from myself and where my weaknesses and shortcomings are in, for example, delegating better, creating better leaders in my organization, harnessing and leveraging the power of technology. And I'm super excited to see where things go in the next few months. And at the same time, finally break that barrier, because probably the most I've ever made in personal net income in a year, maybe $350,000, $400,000. I mean, that's good. That's in the top 1% of the population, but it's certainly not where I want to be, because when you can make $1 million in a year, you can really begin to, you can get your house paid off quicker, you can have more investments that are making you, replacing your income, and obviously that's what we all have a dream of doing at some point, and there's so many opportunities in this country to do that, and we are super fortunate to be in a country so blessed with so much opportunity. But you do have to grind. It's not going to magically happen. And so, again, this podcast, that's why I'm bringing on these amazing people. Guys like Mark Hanna from The Wolf of Wall Street, made $100 million, had a big fall, made some mistakes, but is bouncing back stronger than ever. And, Sean Collins, a guy who's made millions and millions of dollars. His companies are probably, 100 locations. I guarantee you those 100 locations are doing over $100 million a year in sales. We had the other gentleman who built a medical business that's now valued at $43 billion. Of course, he sold out before it became a $43 billion company. But that's part of this journey, right? How can we each learn to build our own 7-figures business and eventually earn 7 figures? But not only do that, but have this massive impact on the people that we work with and leaving the world in a better place than we found it. That is what it's about. The financial freedom, don't get me wrong, that's an important part of it. Having your house paid off and the ability to travel when you want and really have freedom, that's important. But even when you have that, what are you going to do? Just sit around all day? Hell no. You're going to continue to grind, impact, create things. It's all about creating. Too many people just consume, but entrepreneurs create. So today's podcast, all about the greatness is in the grind. Crazy schedules may not be sustainable long term, but they're necessary to get you from where you're at to where you want to be. Get to 6 figures in income, eventually build a business that earns 7 figures in sales, and then the next step is you netting 7 figures in personal income. That, my friends, is my message today. So take action, grind it out. Don't be afraid of a crazy schedule. Still schedule important things out for family, and reach out to me. Tell us about your journey to 7 figures. And if you're finding value in this podcast, give us a 5-star, share it with other people, and God bless you. Are you looking for more 7-figure secrets, content, or even how you can launch your own recession-proof business? Then check out 7figures.com. That's the digit 7, FIGURES.com, where we share more videos, stories, strategies, funding solutions, entrepreneurial education, and even the secret business type that's recession-proof. Thank you for listening, and if you're finding value in our podcast, please give us a 5-star and invite others to join the club.